Welcome to WorldView Today, your source for the latest and most comprehensive news from the United States and beyond. I'm Sarah Thompson, bringing you the top stories shaping the world. Let's dive into today's headlines. China lifts 125% tariff on U.S. ethanol, opening new trade opportunities. In a surprising move, Beijing has announced the complete removal of a 125% tariff on U.S. ethanol imports, effective Tuesday. This decision marks a significant shift in the ongoing trade war between the world's two largest economies, offering a golden opportunity for American ethanol exporters. According to Reuters, the tariff was initially imposed earlier this month as part of China's retaliatory measures against President Donald Trump's trade policies. Ethanol, a critical fuel gas, accounts for roughly half of U.S. ethanol exports annually, with China being a major buyer, per data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, EIA. The tariff rollback is part of a growing list of exemptions China has granted amid trade tensions, including pharmaceuticals, microchips, and aircraft engines. Chinese authorities have also called on companies to identify critical products for tariff exemptions. This move is seen as a major win for U.S. ethanol exporters and a clear signal of the economic pressures China faces due to U.S. tariffs. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Benn, speaking at the White House on Tuesday, emphasized that President Trump's tariffs are exerting significant strain on Beijing. Over time, China's tariffs are unsustainable, Benn stated. Recent data suggests that if these tariffs persist, China could lose up to 10 million jobs quickly, and even with reductions, they could still lose 5 million jobs. Benn highlighted the U.S.'s trade leverage, noting that China exports 5 times more goods to the U.S. than the U.S. sends to China. He argued that the responsibility lies with China to eliminate tariffs, as they are unsustainable in the long term. The ethanol exemption may also pave the way for positive trade negotiations with other nations, particularly India. Benn noted that India has been proactive in recent talks, with Vice President V's visit last week yielding promising progress. Trump deploys 21 advanced F-15EX fighters to replace A-10s in Michigan. In a bold move to modernize U.S. air defenses, President Donald Trump announced the deployment of 21 state-of-the-art F-15EX Eagle II fighters to replace the aging A-10 Warthog fleet at Selfridge Air National Guard Base in Michigan. The announcement came during a ceremony marking the first 100 days of Trump's term, where he delivered a clear message: America will never fall behind in military strength. Speaking to National Guard troops on Tuesday, Trump described the F-15EX as brand new, straight off the line, and here to stay. He recounted witnessing one of the jets fly overhead, exclaiming, "What just flew by? That thing is powerful. These are the best fighters in the world." The F-15EX, an advanced evolution of the F-15, boasts cutting-edge avionics, radar, and weaponry, capable of carrying up to 22 air-to-air missiles, double that of its competitors. The A-10 Warthog, renowned for its tank-like durability and ground attack capabilities, has served for over 40 years, but is increasingly outdated for modern battlefields that demand speed, flexibility, and long-range precision. Deploying the F-15EX to Selfridge not only strengthens Michigan's strategic role in national defense, but also sends a strong message to adversaries like China and Russia about U.S. air superiority. Trump underscored the move as part of his pragmatic America First defense strategy, stating, "We're not just replacing the old, we're upgrading to dominate the skies." This decision reinforces the U.S.'s commitment to maintaining its status as a global military superpower amid intensifying competition. Republicans consider tax hike on ultra-wealthy to fund middle-class relief in a stunning policy shift. Republican lawmakers, traditionally champions of tax cuts, are exploring a tax increase on the ultra-wealthy to finance substantial tax relief for the working and middle classes. This aligns with President Trump's America for Hardworking Americans vision. Representative Nicole Malliotakis, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, confirmed discussions about raising taxes on high earners to offset tax cuts for lower and middle-income families. Our goal, and President Trump's, is meaningful tax relief for the middle class and workers. But we need to balance the budget, she said. A senior Republican aide emphasized that the working-class voters who secured recent electoral victories deserve policies reflecting their priorities, stating, "We owe the workers, not the ultra-rich." 7 House committees are drafting proposals to be consolidated into a budget framework for a full House vote. Through budget reconciliation, Republicans could pass legislation with just 51 Senate votes, bypassing Democratic opposition if they maintain party unity. President Trump aims to extend provisions of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, TCJA, while introducing new measures, such as exempting tips, overtime pay, and Social Security wages from taxes. To fund this, a modest tax increase on the wealthy is under consideration. Proposals include raising the top tax rate by 1%, after a 2% TCJA reduction, or creating a new 40% tax bracket for millionaires. Representative Andre Harris supported the idea, saying, "If we can't cut spending, taxing the rich makes sense." However, Representative Eric Burleson opposed it, arguing, "We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem." Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith vowed to deliver a tax bill that supports job growth, small businesses, and American families, ensuring people keep more of what they earn. A White House official confirmed President Trump is reviewing tax proposals with a focus on job creation and middle-class relief, fulfilling his campaign promises. This potential shift marks a historic pivot for Republicans, balancing support for the working class with pragmatic economic strategy. If passed, it could redefine U.S. tax policy under Trump's leadership. Trump's global shakeup, 100 days of uncompromising leadership. In just 100 days, President Donald Trump has transformed the global political landscape into a high-stakes chessboard driven by American interests and strength. Allies are stunned, and adversaries are wary as Trump rewrites the rules of international engagement with a short, pragmatic, and pressure-heavy approach. From the Middle East to Europe, the Arctic to Asia, the world is grappling with Trump's America First doctrine. Unlike the Biden administration's stalled efforts to rejoin the Iran nuclear deal, JCPOA, Trump has taken a hardline stance. At nuclear talks in Oman, he issued a stern warning to Iran while accelerating military operations against Houthi forces in Yemen. Over 6 weeks, more than 800 targets were struck at a cost of nearly $1 billion, reflecting Trump's scorched earth strategy to eliminate threats decisively. Despite pledging to end wars on his first day, Trump faces challenges in negotiations with Kyiv and Moscow. He publicly criticized Ukrainian President Zelensky for rejecting a peace plan involving Crimean concessions to Russia and expressed frustration with Russian President Putin's evasiveness. While Russia proposed a 3-day ceasefire from May 8-10, Trump demanded a permanent halt. In a meeting with Zelensky in Rome last weekend, Trump pushed for peace, but kept open the option of secondary sanctions on nations trading with Russia. In a provocative move, Trump expressed interest in bringing Greenland and the Panama Canal under U.S. control, invoking the Monroe Doctrine. Panama responded positively, offering priority access for U.S. warships, while a port transfer deal from a Hong Kong company to a U.S. firm faces Chinese opposition. Greenland's leadership and Denmark rejected Trump's proposal, though he emphasized the region's strategic and mineral importance amid Russian and Chinese Arctic expansion. Trump also threatened to withdraw from NATO unless members increase defense spending, prompting the European Union to announce an $840 billion rearmament plan. Countries like Spain, Belgium, and Sweden committed to meeting NATO's 2% GDP defense spending target, while Eastern European nations near Russia pledged up to 5%. On China, Trump imposed tariffs as high as 145% to boost U.S. manufacturing, address trade imbalances, and counter intellectual property theft. However, China's tightened control over critical minerals threatens U.S. electronics, electric vehicle, and defense industries. Trump's uncompromising stance is reshaping America into a superpower that demands tangible value from every international relationship. Federal overhaul. Trump slashes $160 billion in wasteful spending. In an unprecedented reform effort, President Trump and his administration, led by advisor Dose, have cut at least $160 billion in wasteful, fraudulent, and abusive federal spending within 100 days. This shakeup has rattled Washington's bureaucratic establishment. The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, with an annual budget of $40 billion, faced intense scrutiny. Senator Johnny Ernst, chair of a Senate committee, exposed questionable USAID expenditures, including $20 million for a nonprofit's Alam Simsim program in Iraq to promote religious and ethnic inclusion, $900,000 for an environmental group allegedly tied to terrorism in Gaza, and $1.5 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, initiatives in Serbia. Nearly 15,000 foreign aid grants worth $60 billion were also slated for cuts following a State Department review. Trump, who campaigned against DEI programs, has overseen the elimination of hundreds of millions in related contracts. The National Science Foundation canceled 402 DEI grants, saving $233 million, including $1 million for anti-racism teacher training. The Defense Department cut $80 million in similar programs, while the Institute of Museum and Library Services and the Department of Education slashed tens to hundreds of millions in DEI funding. Dose's reforms extended to personnel, with 3,600 probationary employees at the Department of Health and Human Services terminated in February, saving $600 million annually. Over 2 months, 280,253 federal and contractor jobs were cut, and 4,400 indirect jobs were lost due to canceled aid programs. Additionally, 75,000 federal workers opted for early retirement to reduce long-term costs. A scandal at the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, further fueled public outrage. EPA Director Olin revealed $20 billion in misallocated climate and environmental funds under the Biden administration. A December 2024 video showed a Biden-era EPA official admitting to rushing billions in disbursements before Trump's inauguration to evade oversight. The Climate United Fund, allocated nearly $7 billion, was criticized for lacking transparency. Olin praised Dose for uncovering the issue and vowed to recover every misspent dollar. This historic budget purge, targeting questionable expenditures and bloated bureaucracy, signals Trump's commitment to reshaping how Washington spends taxpayer money, with more reforms expected. Trump eases tariffs on U.S. automakers, boosting domestic industry. In a major win for the U.S. auto industry, President Trump announced tariff relief for domestic car manufacturers, easing the burden of his broader trade policies. A Tuesday executive order exempts automakers from certain tariffs, including a 25% duty on imported steel and aluminum, and provides a 3.75% refund on taxes paid for imported parts, based on vehicle value. This refund will drop to 2.5% in the second year, before phasing out. "We're helping them transition smoothly," Trump said. "If they can't get parts, we don't want to penalize them." The decision, announced ahead of Trump's Michigan visit, responds to lobbying from major automakers like General Motors, based in the state. It complements Trump's 25% tariffs on imported vehicles and parts, effective Saturday, which aim to bolster domestic production. The policy has sparked mixed reactions. GM canceled its annual profit forecast due to tariff uncertainties, and stock markets experienced volatile trading. Online retailers, including Amazon, face challenges deciding whether to pass tariff costs to consumers, with a proposal to list tariffs separately on product pages drawing White House criticism. While tariffs remain paused for countries like India, South Korea, and Japan to facilitate trade talks, Tensions persist with China, which retaliated with tariffs on U.S. goods. Treasury Secretary Scott Benn predicted China's export-driven economy would struggle under high tariffs, potentially pushing Beijing to negotiate. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ji urged the U.S. to cease threats and engage in dialogue based on equality and mutual benefit. Trump's tariff strategy reflects a balance of flexibility and pragmatism, aimed at protecting U.S. economic interests while supporting domestic industries. That concludes tonight's broadcast. Thank you for choosing WorldView Today for accurate and timely news. We'll see you tomorrow for more updates.